Afternoon. Well, might be afternoon where you are. It's mid morning where I'm at. But this morning I just had something on my heart, and I went back through my notes, and I know I said I would put on, I would record the lesson or do the lessons names. With names come titles, or with titles come great responsibility. And as I was going over that lesson this morning, another one came up that I had already written. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do the one I said I was going to do first. But y'all is just pressing this on me today. The lesson is, who was the Proverbs 31 woman? And I know that so many of us have been told that this was, um, uh, no one could find, no one, it says, no one could find her, or who was he said, an excellent wife who can find. And that's a question when you look at the scripture, when you look at 31:10. And so many of us were taught, shalom, were taught that this person was unattainable, she didn't exist. But this was a model, and we know that everything that is in this book is, it is possible to accomplish if we walk in the spirit, if we keep our minds first of all primed with the word, so that so it sticks, so that it'll stick. And so I was toiling over this lesson again, and it was just, I had some questions, and I think I went to a workshop where I did a panel where these questions were given to me, and I didn't get a chance to really expound upon them because it was a panel of more than 7 women, so we were just given answers, and one person answers it according to, how they saw fit, or blah, whatever. But I just wanted to share them with you because they were really good. I'm turning this. Okay, I'm trying to get this camera straight. So, the Proverbs 31 woman. Proverbs 31:10 says, look at this thing. An excellent wife who can find, for her worth is far above jewels. The heart of her husband trusts in her, and he will lack no gain. He will have no lack of gain. She does him good and not evil all the days of her life. She looks for wool and flax and works with her hands in delight. She is like merchant ships. She brings her food from afar. She rises also while it is still night. She gives her food to her household and portions to her maidens. She considers a field and she buys it. From her earnings she plants a vineyard. She girds herself with strength. She makes her arm strong. She senses that her gain is good. Her lamp does not go out at night. She stretches out her hand to the distaff, and her hand grasps the spindle. She extends her hand to the poor, and she stretches out her hand to the needy. She is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. She makes coverings for herself. Her clothing is fine linen and purple. Her husband is known in the gates. When he sits amongst the elders of the land, she makes linen and garments and sells them, and supplies belts to the tradesmen. Strength and dignity are her clothing, and she smiles at the future. She opens her mouth in wisdom, and she teaches, the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. She looks well to the ways of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness. Her children rise up and bless her. Her husband also, and he praises her, saying, many daughters have done nobly, but you excel them all. Charm is deceitful and beauty is vain, but a woman who fears Yahuwah, she shall be praised. Give her the product of her hands, and let her works praise her in the gates. And this is just a huge amount of things to grasp. I'm just going to go back through them. I just read them so that we would be on the same page and you know where I'm at. So when I start calling out verses, you'll understand. So one of the questions at this workshop was, because it was a panel of working business women who are mothers, and who, some of them run more than one business. Some are authors, some are psychiatrists, some are radio disc jockeys, some were, they came from all walks of life. One's a motivational speaker. And I love to admonish women, and I love to be able to share. And a lot of it, the way it was handled was asking the questions about women. Why do we do certain things? Why do we behave a certain way? And so the question was, how do you balance it all? One, you prioritize. What is most important to you? What does it make you? What is the most important thing in your life? That's how you balance it all, first of all, right? And we need to, as women, learn how to write down our goals, write down what it is we want to see. So once we write them on paper, it becomes real, it becomes committed. And then take the time to every day do one of the things you've written down that you want to do. The easiest to the hardest task, or the hardest to the easiest task, however you operate. So you prioritize what's important, what's the most important in your life, what's the most important thing to you. First of all, though, I believe you have to be realistic. You have to keep it real where you live at in here, in your head. What am I capable of doing right now? What do I have the time to do? What am I willing to exert my energy into? Prayerfully as well, prayerfully. Next, we have to have a spiritual center. It is how, in every area of your life, how are you stayed on your truth, and how do you keep truths? Spiritual centeredness is so important, this word. This is how you stay spiritually centered. You stay spiritually centered by what you've written down on this paper, commit it to paper, then you commit it to your memory and to doing, and then lining it up with the word. Again, how do we balance it all? We look at this. The Proverbs 31 woman was a model. She was a model, and it showed a woman how to balance it all. We'll take a look. She's the model for all women. So who was the Proverbs 31 woman? She is you. She is me. She is any woman who has committed to keeping Torah, loving her family, being a helpmeet, helping meet the needs, seeing the needs, and meeting those in her community, in her home, in her own family, because charity starts at home first. First it says, she admonishes, she instructs, admonishes, corrects her children first. Your biggest investment and the most important title that you will hold once you're grown and married, or if you have children already, is mother. That's your most important title. That's the most important job you'll ever hold, because that will render you the verse 28, her children will rise up and bless her. People think a blessing is somebody just saying something out of their mouth, but again, I told you that inside out, what's in you will eventually come out, and whatever you put into your children will eventually render itself back to you. We all have a basket. Some of our harvests, we don't like it. Some of the fruit that's in our basket, we don't like it, and a lot of us won't admit, but a lot of the fruit that's been rendered back to us are from seeds that we planted, knowingly and unknowingly, by omission or commission, ignorantly or blatantly just being disobedient. But we do have fruit. You can't hide it, because it will tell on you, right? It says her children rise up and call her blessed. So your children, how they grow up and how they care for their children and how they keep their homes and how they honor their Elohim is a huge example sometimes, a huge example of what we've put into them. Knowing your worth. How do you balance it all? You gotta know your worth. You know what you're worth. You know what you deserve. You know what it is you're capable of doing. Know your worth. There's nothing wrong with knowing what you're worth and who you are and whose you are. That is a big problem in our community as women as well, because so many women are broken. So many women have been broken and beat down and bogged down with, you gotta submit, you gotta submit, you gotta submit, but they don't have the person that's warming the inside of them and breaking down that cold, ice cold wall that's built up because they've been hurt. I can't submit if you keep making me hard. I'm gonna give you cold. So knowing what you're worth, have a mission statement. Who are you? And what is it that you want to see? You know, a mantra. Have something that you, affirmations that you really know about yourself. And there are some in here. Psalms 139 tells you that. 139, I think it is 14, that you are fearfully and wonderfully made. And then I believe it is Isaiah 1. He says, I knew you before I knit you together in your mother's womb. So my Father knows me. I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. Therefore, I'm capable of all things. Know your worth. Balancing it all, you provide the wife, and she provides work and comfort and nutrients for her home. You see this, she had maidservants. She would give her portion. She rose early in the morning while it was still dark. And she made sure she delegated everyone their duties. But a leader has to remember that you don't lead by just your mouth, you lead by example. Others will do what they see you doing, especially if it's working. And when you lead in love, not harsh or condescending, telling people what you never did because it's not true. Some things are probably not true. You probably did it and have overcome it, and you've become prideful because you were able to overcome certain things, or probably still hold on to them. It might just be pride, and no one can see your shortcomings. Balancing it all involves time management. Got to keep a schedule. Got to write things down. Some conversations can't be had. I catch myself a lot of times, and I tell myself, oh, I got to keep this part of social media because this is how my clients contact me. But then I find myself distracted and looking at other things. And by the time I look back, I'm like, okay, I've spent an hour scrolling, looking at nonsense, when I could have been writing, completing a lesson, doing a video. So even today, I had an appointment. So I thought was sent an appointment invite by one of my, someone that was handling something. And I blocked it in my calendar. I didn't verify whether or not it was still going on. So I got up and I went to the appointment, only to find out that it wasn't today. It's Wednesday evening. Wanted to get frustrated at first, but you know what I did? I said, no, I'm going to take care of some things that I've been procrastinating on doing. And so I did those. I did 2 of those things, and I'm sitting right here now. I said I was going to put up a lesson. I'm going to put up a lesson. And when I'm done here, I'm going to go organize my office. Because, again, I cannot run my business effectively disorganized. So she manages her time. She keeps a schedule. And she's organized. That's how, and that's who she is. She falls back into, she checks herself. You know, a lot of us lack the ability to, or we don't lack the ability to, we don't listen to the promptings of the Ruach when he's telling us, hey, you know, you could do this. And it's like, oh, you know, nobody don't want to hear that lesson. That's probably not, you know, that's probably not what I should do today. I'm just going to sit here. I'm gonna watch the news. Or I don't have to be at work until later on this afternoon. So I was going to kind of lollygag around, but she manages her time. She makes long-term and short-term goals. We see here where it says she considers a lot and she purchases it. She makes use of the vineyard. She purchases the land and doesn't just sit there. She makes use of it. So she's a businesswoman. She's working in the economy. She sets a long-term goal and she secures it. that long-term property. We as women think that even if we're at home, we can't be financially secure. If we're at home teaching our children, or if we're at home, um, um, if we're at home managing the home, that we can't do things that are effective and that'll help the family. There are some things that you could do while you're at home. That passion that you have to bake things or cook things. Your children can be involved with you in your small business endeavors, and little 20, 30, $40 a month adds up. And you put that aside for a rainy day. We don't know what's going to happen, but that's what she does as a Proverbs woman, or as the woman who's learning, or who has embraced balance in it all. And we don't complain about it all the time. I find myself doing it sometimes too. We'll have a bashing party where we complain about what's not being done, or this, you don't do this and they don't do this. But what are we doing? Our words, sometimes we put them out there, and then we meditate on all of the not things that aren't being done. But there's so much that can be done, because you remember, you be the change that you want to see. So she considers the vineyard. She makes use of the vineyard, and her little bit adds up. The little things the little seeds that she's planting, and those small things and small investments she's making, they pay off. And we see verse 28. She maintains her figure. It said, she girds herself with strength, and she makes her arms strong, which means she works. She's working. She's doing things. She's keeping her body right, her mind right, her spirit right. We're holistic. We're a complete person. And a lot of times we focus on one thing and then neglect another, and then we're depressed about the thing that we neglected. But if we quit looking at ourselves as a dichotomy, like this half and half, cut in half person, we look at ourselves as a whole, and everything being whole, and everything being cosmic or connected. She balances it all. She maintains her figure. She guards her mind. She guards her loins. She girds her loins with, it says right here, she makes her arms strong. She senses her gain is good, and her lamp doesn't go out at night. And that's another thing. I'm so tired. I'm too tired. Your lamp does not go out at night. There are needs that need to be met in the home as well, conjugally with your husband. You shouldn't expend all your time on all these things where you don't have time to care for your mate or meet the needs of your mate. And that's a whole nother lesson. It's a whole nother story, because men will say, oh yeah, you submit and you gotta do this. But men must remember too, you court your wife all day. Being in a marriage is give and take. It's hard to give when there's nothing given. I just had this conversation last week with my mate, and it was just, you date your wife all day, from the time you wake up until the time the house is clean, food is cooked, the kids have eaten, gone to bed, and then you want attention from me. But all day, it's mental. You haven't courted me in my mind not once throughout the day, and we don't render our bodies like that. Some people do, but the arousal starts, it's mental. It starts, all things, all seeds, everything, even sin is planted first. The battlefield is the mind. The mind is what tells the body what to do. So, and vice versa, women, you have to remember the same. It might be the opposite for you. Your husband might be complaining about you not being, your lamp going out at night. His might be too, but you have to think about the things that you do throughout the day, those little things, those little nuances. I told mine, I was like, smelled a lady the other day, perfume on. We were sitting together eating, and I said, well, I like her perfume, it smells good. Well, she was the waitress. Well, you could have asked her, excuse me, after you paid her, what was the name of your perfume, without me knowing, and brought it home that night. Those little things show me that you're listening, show me that you're paying attention to me, which then is attractive. Vice versa. He said he liked a certain food. We went somewhere and I learned how to cook it because you said you liked it, and we don't have to always go out to dinner now to get that. I can make it. So she maintains, she guards, and she loins her mind, and we know that our state of mind eventually permeates on the outside. So what's going on in here eventually becomes the action, is what I'm saying. So if I'm thinking on negative things, eventually negative responses are going to happen. So she balances even that. We are holistic, mind, body, soul. So you have to start, I start before I even get out the bed sometimes. Just lay there, and I start before my feet hit the floor, and start thanking, being thankful, because I can think about all the things that need to be done throughout the day. Excuse me. And I can get overwhelmed. I can really be, get out the bed and get on the wrong foot and wake up mad, because I could wake up thinking about the dream I had that wasn't even real. So we know that we are a form and function type of people. And so we look at verse 18. It says, she senses that her gain is good, and she can vouch for a product. That means what she's done, she can vouch for. She senses that the gain is good. Does it function? If it functions, it's tov, right? So people are fed from the vineyard that she planted. The joy of the grapes. Later on, the wine is made from the grapes. So it functions. Her product functions from the land that she bought here in the verse 16. She considers a field and she buys it, and from her earnings she plants a vineyard. So she plants from the other business venture that she's had, right? Verse 19. She stretches out her hand to the distaff, and her hand grasps the spindle. She's determined. She's determined to see something different. Also, verse 20, she extends her hand to the poor. She's compassionate. So, who was she? Again, she is us when we bring it all back together and we think and bring our thoughts under the power of the word. She respects the seasons and makes provision. Verse 21, she's not afraid of the snow for her household, and for all her household is clothed in scarlet. She respects the season. She knows that sometimes it's going to be plentiful. So when it's plentiful, she puts some away. Sometimes it's going to be lean. When it's lean, what I put away can be used. And she is efficient, and she's she's diligent. She works with her hands. So she's not idle. And that's the thing. We have so many women that want. People, period. Us, period. Just how we have digressed as a people. We want the bling and the shine and the things that we see other people have, that we see them with, but we don't want to put in the work. No one knows what's going on behind the scenes, just like the swan. She looks beautiful and graceful above the water floating, but her feet are always moving. She's never just sitting. And eventually what you're doing is going to pay off if Yah has planted that in you, and he will bless it. It says she makes her hand, she makes a covering for herself. Her clothing is purple and fine linen. And her 23, her husband is known in the gates. 22, she makes a covering for herself, her clothing. It's fine linen. And it says that he's honored. She honors him, and he's honored. We know that honor isn't for everyone, so we need to choose wisely, men and women, whom we give titles to, right? Because it says, like Sarah, she called Abram Adonai, as she saw him, as she wanted him to be. But Yah had already called Abram. He followed Yah. We can't go get somebody who's not following Yah and call him Lord. He might be Lord of the Flies, and you in trouble. So we have to be mindful of who we give honor to and who we give titles to, and realize their design and function. Don't look for results if you haven't put in any work. Quit looking for the best and the best relationship if you haven't put in work. Quit looking for the relationship like this person has with their wife, son, mother, daughter if you haven't put in the work. This generation again is sleep. They slumber and they sleep, and reality TV and a lot of these artists and a lot of things that are going on there, it's an illusion, and it's a huge illusion. You see these women on TV and you see them mastering it all, but it comes with a price. It really comes with the price. It really comes with the price. So, oops. I'm serious. You know, we have to really be, we have to quit thinking that we can fix something. Y'all did create, but he told you what was going to work and what wasn't going to work. Stop looking for your blessing to come from a particular place or a particular person. Sometimes it's not going to happen. Someone is being deposited into just like you are, and they will look like you, and their soil will be good. And then when the seeds are planted, fruit will grow. You know, who is she again? She's that woman who is, you can see she's transparent. But she only opens her mouth in wisdom. So when she shares, she's sharing out of experience. A lot of us, again, don't want to put in the necessary work or don't want to process and let go of certain things so that we can grow. Because with growth and with trials and with the fire comes the wisdom, because you've been able to see effective growth, and you've been able to change the narrative of your life, and that is where people will begin to seek your advice. You can't give advice if you haven't elevated your circle or grown past certain things and people. Everything isn't for everybody, though, when you're being transparent and when, you know, with wisdom, because everybody's not wise. And something, wisdom to a fool is nothing. That's just like casting your pearl before swine. So remember to guard your heart and your mind. And she opens her mouth in wisdom. And the teaching of kindness is on her tongue. She's not giving foolish advice, telling somebody how to put sugar in a tank or break a window. That's don't for as much as they might need it. You don't do it. You don't give that kind of advice. You don't encourage foolishness. And she looks looks well to the ways of her household. She doesn't eat the bread of idleness, idle talk, idle thoughts. Bring every thought under obedience, into submission, under the obedience of Yahshua, Hamashiach, under our Elohim. Bring those thoughts, take them thoughts captive. Don't let them run idle. It's cancer, like free radicals. You know, we know, all of us know somebody that probably has it, and that's all it is. It's free radicals cells running wild and loose in your body, and your body has a natural lymphatic system, red blood cells and white blood cells that attack and keep the body and the environment healthy. But when it's out of control, it can become cantankerous, cancerous. So we have to take those thoughts captive. We have to not eat the bread of idleness. We have to not sit under idle conversations and people. And again, remember that everything isn't for everybody. So she doesn't eat the bread of idleness, and her children rise up and call her and praise her, call her blessed, and her husband praises her too. Only you can say what needs to be said about you. So we write in our own story, but this is a model. Proverbs 31 is the model of how you can become this woman that even a question is asked about. An excellent wife who can find. Let's look at what excellent means in this text too. I'm going to go to my Strong's 24:28 in your Hebrews, in your Hebrew Strongs. 24:28. Excellent. Hael, deriving from 23:42 and related as another from form of 24:26, it means might. So a mighty woman, strength, power, able, a valiant woman, a virtuous woman, a valor, an army, a host, a force, riches, substance, wealth. The main meaning is a noun, army. The entourage of the queen of Sheba is mentioned in Hael, 1 Kings 10:2 and 2 Chronicles 9:1. Hael, she is a force to be reckoned with. We have been downplayed so long as women because all we're told is to be submissive and blah, 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 and blah, 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 blah. But form and function. I submit when the king rules, right? When he reigns, and when he's following Yah and Torah. So if you have somebody who isn't, then you have to get up under the headship under Yah, Elohim, and you have to submit to his authority. Not saying you disrespect the person who you've married or given a title and put in a position, but you submit to Yah. You obey Yah or leave all the consequences to him. So we see excellent, valor, strength, an excellent wife, a strong woman, an army, a force to be reckoned with, a leader, one who leads her home. Excuse me, Jax, my dog, he's been trying to tear up my tree, and I don't know what his deal is with my little plant. No, that's a no. You stay away from that plant. Go on, let me do my lesson. Stop. We've seen that, evolution has made us real stupid, and life is cyclical. We're going to meet people again on this journey that we thought we got rid of. And a lot of times they come back and it's a test just to see if you've elevated past the point where the last place where you met them at again. One thing on this journey, people will never forget how you made them feel, and vice versa. I was sharing that with someone too. I said, if I fall and scrape my knee, I have a scar here. I was 8. I was roller skating. I don't forget the details or nothing because I was roller skating. Me and my cousin were playing roller derby, and she was impulsive. Even at 7, she still is too at 42. But she kicked her foot up, kicked the bottom of my skate, which caused me to trip, and I fell on my face, and my teeth went through my lip, and so I have a scar. I never forget that. I won't forget. I know just how it felt. I remember the look on my mom's face when I walked in the door because I wasn't crying, but I just was like, look, there was blood everywhere, of course. I remember all the details at 8 years old because trauma, good trauma or fun experiences or trauma, something scary, unfavorable, will always, it surged into your mind, it surged into your memory. So people will never forget how you made them feel. Vice versa. You'll never forget how a person made you feel. Time has gone on. They might think you forgot. But we have to learn how to, they're brought back into your circle to see if there's been growth, if there's been elevation. Sometimes people don't change. Remember this, mean young men can grow up to be mean old men. Silly, mean women, young girls, grow up to be silly, mean old women. If they don't elevate, if they don't grow, and if they don't check those things that are going on. Some people will be real selective about their sympathies. So sometimes we have to save our dime, those numbers we dial up and we call and complain to people. Some people are real selective about what they care about, and a lot of times people don't care about it until it affects them. But, know who to share your story with. Know who to share your story with. Remember that too much is given, more is required. Leave it all on this side, and that's what we see her doing. Leave it all on this side because you can't take it with you. You can't take your experiences with you. When you go, they go on the ground. But if you plant a seed somewhere, and this is what she did as a valiant warrior, excellent woman, excellent wife, she left a legacy. She left something where her children still talk about it. Oh, Mama taught us how to sew. Mama taught us how to cook. Mama, went here with us. Mama did our homework together. Mom just laid in the bed with us sometimes, and we just laid there, and those things that never go away. Obey Yahweh, I just said that, but obey him and leave the consequences to him. We all have a card to play. Make sure we know when to play it, which means don't let that card be the card of wrath or anger or I'm gonna pay you back or that's what it says right here. Where the teaching of kindness is on her tongue, and she looks kind to the ways of her household. Don't always wait till I'm holding a grudge and can't wait till I see them again. Because if I see them again, I'm gonna roll my eyes and I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that. People are hurting. People, sometimes they do things knowingly and unknowingly. When a person continues to show you who they are, you believe them and you remove yourself. But everybody has bad days. Everybody has moments where they might not quite know how to express themselves. Leave room for correction of error. But again, if a person continues to show you who they are, believe them and remove yourself. You have a card to play. Just make sure you know when to play it, and it ain't out of emotion. Because your emotions are your gauge. They're not your guide. Don't lash out when you're mad or when you hurt. Check yourself. It says, many daughters have done nobly, but you excel them all. There are women that color inside the lines sometimes and don't step out on the things that Yah has put in their hearts. Because it might look crazy to somebody else, and somebody might be saying, oh, that ain't gonna work, and this ain't this, and why are you doing this? Protect your blueprint too. Know who to talk to. Know who to share your story with. Know who to share your dreams with. Make sure it's people that consider you and know you and are willing to invest in your growth, not those that are trying to throw weights on, because the enemy do that all on his own. I'm telling you, he be waking up, sitting on the headboard sometimes, waiting, telling me what I shouldn't do. Girl, you shouldn't even get up and go. They might not even say yeah anyway. Don't do it. And then you walk through that door and I had that happen. I'm doing a certain project or whatever, and I'm like, they keep asking for the same thing. I don't believe I have the capacity to pull this off. I'm just, it was a crazy idea, and okay, I did it. They said yeah, and now that's it. I'm just not gonna follow through with it. Okay, I see that I can make it in the door, and the Father said, no, I'm opening the doors. Go ahead and go. I was like, no, because every time I go, they tell me I haven't done something else right. So I'm having a full-fledged conversation, like have the two on the cartoons, the one voice over here and the other voice over here, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna obey you. And I get there, and it's like, well, we know you're just starting out, and you don't have the capacity, and you don't have the leverage, but let me see if the CFO is here today. See if we have room to take on one more project. Comes back, he said, well, you're in luck today. I can do that for you. And it was just amazing. I didn't talk myself out of it. I obeyed and I stayed the course. And so I am able to participate in something. So elevate your thinking, elevate your circle, elevate your thoughts to higher things, to things, again, get on that walk of faith. I can't see real good, so I have my glasses. Remember another thing. You've done your time when it comes to guilt and different things that you have endured and overcome. You've done your time. quit wearing jackets that other people have put on you. Okay, yeah, when you were 16, you were angry. When you were 18, you might have had a baby out of wedlock. When you were 21, you might have gotten in trouble, and you corrected that. Quit wearing the jackets that other people have put on you. Elevate your circle, remove the dead man's clothes, and see yourself the way you were created to be. And again, if you're looking for a model, Proverbs 31 is one of them. And be excellent in whatever it is you're doing, because it didn't say what she was doing. There were examples of what she had done. But if you are a stay-at-home mom, be excellent at that. If you are homeschooling children, be excellent in that, because your children will rise up and call you blessed. Your husband will see the fruit of your hand. Your children will render you the fruit of your hands, and your husband he'll admire and be astonished at you, because her husband talks about her at the gates. He's sitting at the gates talking about how, man, my woman do it all. She cook, she make clothes, she buys vineyards, and she done planted. You see them grapes that grew, man, we're going to have some good wine in season, those things. So, quit running and taking the easy way out too. What I was talking about, talking yourself out of stuff. Know your self-worth. Know your history. Know how you arrived at a certain place, which means, people, I hate that. Oh, just forget about it. Just forget about it. Don't ever forget. Change your response. Change the narrative. Don't ever forget what happened, because then you'll forget how you got there. If you forget how you get to I travel when I go out of town. I get somewhere. I remember the landmarks, so I know how to get back to where I came from. Same here. Remember the landmarks. Remember the landmines. Remember where you blew up, where it was tore up at. Don't go back to that place again. Remember. Do what you can, even when you don't want to. Do what it is you're capable of doing, even when you don't want to. Like this morning, didn't want to get up, didn't want to run, but I know that is something for my holistic health, mind, body, and soul, because it's not just about the physical appearance. I like the fact that it does maintain certain things about my body, weight, or whatever, but it helps here. Everything, again, everything starts here. It's a mindset, it's a mental. Because in your running and you're out in nature, praise happens. Praise always come on when I'm running, because boy, when I can get past a certain point, I'm telling my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna stop at that stop sign. It's like, no, you're gonna run on past that stop sign. I'm like, okay, I can do all things then through Yahshua who strengthens me, and I go past that, and I'm like, woo. By the time I'm done, I done ran further than I think I am. You learn things about yourself when you push yourself when you don't want to, when you get up when you don't want to, when you I just went through a time where I didn't want to get up and take a bath. I didn't want to do nothing. I went from the table to the couch to the bed. It was a complete circle. If I got out the bed, I got up, might have got up to get something to drink and went back and laid back down. But when you make yourself do what you don't want to do, you have to be stronger than this muscle in your head, because sometimes it'll tell you what to do. Your emotions will tell you what to do. So do what you don't want to do. Change what you can. Change what you can. Change what can change. And the things that can't change, pray for strength to overcome them. And then listen. Listen to the Father. Listen to wisdom. He's the wise one. Listen to him, and then respond with obedience. Listen and respond with obedience. The Proverbs 31 woman might have thought that all of her endeavors weren't big, wasn't a big thing. Someone is always watching. Someone's always watching you. Somebody is always, you have those Nicodemus at night. You always have a spectator. Never forget that. They want to see how you're going to respond. They might even come and sit at your table. I know I have a few. They want to see if I'm going to act like the 14-year-old little girl, or if I'm going to act like the 17 or 18-year-old little mad girl, or if I'm going to act like this 23-year-old woman who would have said something crazy to you. Even a 30-year-old woman. They come to bring garbage. I had that incident happen not too long ago too. I said, I don't want to be bothered, blah, 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 but I'm going to go and check on this person. And you want to tell me something that somebody's saying, questions that people are asking. There's foolishness, but my response changed. And It changed the whole atmosphere and the whole situation because I could have fed into it. I could have responded in anger, but I didn't. So people get to see your growth and see your change. Respond with obedience, excuse me. And so the end game of it all is equity, balance. Proverbs 31 woman was aware of the fact that as a wife, as being a woman, you have different titles. First, you are a daughter, son of the Most High. Second, you may be a wife, grandmother, father, grandfather, uncle, aunt. You're a mother, wife, sister, a friend. You're a teacher. Whether you want to be or not, you're teaching someone. Someone is watching. Someone is watching because we learn by what? Seeing, hearing, doing. See, hear, do. That's even in basic education when you're learning how to write a lesson, or when you're becoming an instructor, or whatever it is you're doing. You watch, you listen, then you watch, then you do. You listen, watch, and do. So that's somebody's always that. The senses are for a reason. Listen, watch, and do. Shema, hear and do it. No, does no good to hear something and then not do it. Does no good to have the recipe to something, to have the recipe to something and then don't follow the recipe and then like, it didn't taste like hers because you didn't do it like she did it. She wrote the recipe down. He wrote the recipe down. So, balance. And balance is hard, sis. It's hard. Balance is hard, but it is not unattainable. We have to constantly check ourselves, and that's why change is so hard for some people, because I have to do something different. I'm the same way. I know somebody's like, I'm the same way every day. I do the same thing every day. And I was like, you let me know how that work out for you, because it's starting to look real sad doing the same thing every day to get the same result, and then to get pulled out the dirty, miry clay and then go jump back in the mud. Change, do something different, change your program, change the tire, do something that's on flat, something's not working. It is. So it is insanity. It really is insanity. But again, balance. It's balance. It's like, hey, you know what? I see this works. See, this doesn't work. I see this works. I see this doesn't work. So this mom is she's exemplifying equity. She's the oracle to her children. She's the showcase for her husband because he puts her on the platform for display. He's admonishing her because of her good works. And yep, we know the nasty pig likes to wallow in the mud, the insanity, but let's remember again, equity, balance, love, wisdom, and that we all are that woman when we do that. So with that, you guys have a wonderful day. I enjoyed you all, and I can't wait to speak to you all again and have you in the chat. We just got done with Passover and the Pesach celebration, that week-long celebration, and it was so excellent. I do have a lesson that is being birthed out of that. It was so wonderful to see people come from near and far. And Pesach, you know that it represents the examining yourself and the removing the sin and the leaven from your life, and just the newness of the everything, the newness, the walking in the newness, walking in liberty, walking in obedience, walking out of the darkness. We know that the seasons change. We Gregorically, and here in the Western civilization, we worship. They worship or celebrate the new year, January 1st. But we know that the new year is in spring, and again, it's the wisdom is coming out of that cognitive dissonance, what we've been taught, because we know that in the winter We know that in autumn, fall, everything starts to slumber and hibernate, and it dwindles down and goes away. Even the bears hibernate. Wow, even nature does what it's supposed to do in its season. And then we say right in the midst of the dead season, we say it's a new year, but it's not. But we see this when the trees are blooming and your allergies start acting up, and the almond trees start to bud, and the bees around, the butterflies around. We know that it's new. It's new. There's a newness. There's newness of life. The seeds that died and fell from the ground and got watered on, trampled on, rain, they come up. The new grass is coming up. My grass is growing back. So we know that it's new. So the purging and cleaning out the leaven from your home, and we know that even as we were brought over here in captivity, those people kept certain things. The sages, our ancestors had, they were oracles as well. They might have forgot why they did it, but it was in them. It's in their DNA. I remember, we can all remember spring cleaning, and that whole term spring cleaning comes up, but they left out the fact that, yeah, getting the leaven and the yeast out your house. But we all do spring cleaning. When the winter time is over, we want to clean and get ready for spring. But that's what it was, and it was a time to awaken to and be aware, and to look very closely and examine. We talked about that with the removing of the leaven, and some things. Some people were like, I didn't even know that it had leaven in it. Some seasoning, just different things. I was sharing that with one of my family members, and she was like, oh my goodness, I didn't even look at the broth. And I said, yeah, it has yeast extract. She's like, oh my goodness, I didn't even know that. And I said, it calls you to look circumspectly at things and to examine everything, not to take anything for granted that it may or may not. And we need to do that in our lives too. Don't take for granted that certain things, certain people, certain activities aren't leavened, aren't gonna leaven the whole lump, aren't gonna cause discord in your heart, in your home, in your thinking, in your spiritual walk. Examine everything with wisely and broken women and healing, huh? See about that. See about that. Yes. Yep, you do. You have to remove certain things. So again, sisters, co-team and Kim, I respect you all for just taking out the time to even hear me out, listen to me, and I just pray that someone was touched, and that in my obedience that Yah will continue to allow me to cleanse me and purge me, and allow me to share with you all as he's dealing with me. Awesome. Shalom.